Have you had a rough day? How has your stress level been lately? And what about the barrage of thoughts that can dominate your mind from the state of the world to what you'll have for dinner later tonight? Let's just take a moment to relax. No, I mean it. Breathe in and breathe out. Better? Great. We could all use a reminder every now and then to slow down. Mindfulness means bringing awareness to your desires and ambitions and how they affect your outward body. The Raindrop Technique is in harmony with practices of mindfulness that have been around for generations. Hello and welcome to Young Living's podcast, The Wild Drop. My name is Jacob Young, your host. Young Living is the world leader in producing and distributing premium essential oils. This podcast will provide you with drops of information about Young Living, including stories, history, products, lots of little fun facts, and even more. We'll also give you an opportunity to get some free product with a very special package today. Tamara Packer has been practicing the Raindrop Technique for over 16 years, as well as teaching Raindrop for the last 10 years in over 30 countries. She's been working with Young Living since the beginning and was around Young Living and Raindrop Technique founder, Gary Young. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jacob.
So it's always fascinating to hear people's firsthand interactions with my father. So where does your story start with Mr. Gary Young?
It starts about 30 years ago. I got a phone call from Gary asking me to meet him in a small diner in Blackfoot, Idaho, Stan's Diner. At that time, the diners were more like truck stops. Mm-hmm. And so when I walked in, the air was filled with smoke. The carpet looked kind of crusty.
Sounds lovely.
Yes. We had a less than desirable dinner. And after the plates were taken away, your dad pulled out 5 little blue bottles, and he opened those bottles, and there's a fragrant aroma that came out of those bottles. It was actually the first time I had smelled an essential oil. Mm-hmm. I still remember his statement of saying these oils will change the world. And indeed they have.
So Tamara, what is your connection to my father?
Well, Jacob, as you know, I've known your dad since the day I was born. Our fathers were brothers, and so your father's my first cousin. And we had a lot of fun growing up. Your father lived in the mountains in Idaho, and I lived in the farmlands in Idaho. And so we thought it was so much fun when we got to go see our cousins in the rugged mountains.
And in the rugged mountains, he did indeed live.
Yes.
Are there any fun stories that you have of growing up with him?
Yes, one time we were going on a picnic, and so they had an old truck. And so all of the children got in the back of the truck, and all of a sudden, Gary's father screeches on the brakes of this truck, and Gary jumps out of the truck and kills a rattlesnake that was right in front of us.
Oh, wow. Well, brave guy. Saved you all from the rattlesnake.
That's right.
So what was your background before Young Living?
Well, I was actually a mother of 5 children, so a lot of my background was raising children. However, I did become a licensed massage therapist specializing in craniosacral therapy.
That's great. And what do you do for Young Living now?
I teach Raindrop mainly.
And as you've heard, you've been to numerous countries. You've been teaching Raindrop for over 10 years now. And have you enjoyed it?
Absolutely.
And what would you say is the best part about teaching Raindrop?
I think the best part about teaching Raindrop is watching people understand it and improve while they're learning it.
Wonderful. So let's dive into Raindrop Technique. What oils specifically are involved with the Raindrop Technique?
Well, there are 9 oils in the Raindrop kit. The first one is Valor, oregano, thyme, basil, cypress, wintergreen, marjoram, aroma seeds, and peppermint.
They're all great oils.
You know, Gary first put the Raindrop together because of his extensive study of the oils. and his research and experimentation. And I have to say, because of his inspiration also, that the raindrop was put together. That's why he chose the oils, the order of the oils, and the specialized techniques in the raindrop.
And so, for someone who doesn't understand raindrop, what is raindrop? What makes it special? What makes it unique?
Well, raindrop is a unique approach to mind-body wellness. It uses, of course, essential oils, targeted massage practices, and distinctive energy approaches. It's very rejuvenating, harmonizing, and relaxing. It helps people come in alignment with their mind and body.
And you've done a few raindrop practices on me, and that's exactly how I feel afterwards. What is one recommendation you'd give to somebody that is starting raindrop out for the first time?
Be patient with themselves as they learn.
That's great. And one thing that I think is really good, and maybe you can speak up a little bit about this, is I notice that when you are doing raindrop on me and others, you make sure to never separate your connection with the person that you're giving that massage to. Why is that specifically? That's
a really important part of the raindrop. Once a person has given you permission to touch their body and they've allowed you in their space, then it makes them feel very safe and secure if you keep contact with them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's for their security.
I like that. What for you makes raindrop special and unique?
You know, for me, it's actually interacting with the person on the table. Once I start the raindrop, then I leave all worries and cares outside of the room and, of course, just focus on that person on the table. And it's amazing to watch the changes that might come during the raindrop.
When you're doing a raindrop on somebody, what do you see the raindrop help them best with? Is it stress relief, muscle relief, alignment, or...
I have to say all of the above.
All of the above.
Absolutely. It depends on what the person needs most. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I ask them if they have an intention before they get on the table. And if they need stress relief most or relaxation, maybe that's what will happen.
Okay.
And in the meantime, all these techniques that we are using are helping to relax the muscles, increase the circulation, and stimulate the nerves.
So regardless of what they're hoping to get after, whether it's stress relief or muscle relief, the technique is the same, correct?
Yes, it is.
And the amount of oils that are used in the order that they're used is the same as well?
Yes.
Wow. So it's basically a Swiss Army knife of massages.
I like that. If you were working on small children or anyone that you have a question about, mm-hmm. then you would dilute the oils and use less oils to start with.
And that you can do with either coconut oil or the V6 massage oil that we have. Is there anything else that they can use to help dilute the oils with?
Yes, in the kit, there are actually 2 large bottles of carrier oil. Mm-hmm. One called, like you mentioned, the V6 Vegetable Complex Oil, and one called Ortho Ease. And so those are great tools to dilute the oils with.
We've been focused on the raindrop technique mostly, but what are some of your general thoughts on massage and reflexology and how that can improve people's quality of life?
You know, massage does what we mentioned that raindrop does. It helps relax the muscles, increase the circulation, stimulate the nerves, and it's very relaxing. There are many studies nowadays about the benefits of massage, and it's used in many medical practices.
Yes, it is.
As far as reflexology goes, what Gary implemented in the raindrop technique is called the roll and release technique. This was formerly called the VitaFlex technique, and we actually work on the reflex points on the bottom of the foot to start the raindrop. The reflex points help, again, open the pathways that might be blocked, and that's why Gary added that technique to the raindrop.
Okay. What are some off the top of your head tips and tricks that you would give to people who are starting out or who have been doing Raindrop for a while? What are some, I guess, tips in the technique or the form that you do Raindrop that helps improve that person providing the Raindrop or receiving it?
So as far as a facilitator, those giving the Raindrop, it's important we add white angelica across the shoulders, that nice oil of protection before we start the Raindrop. And also the very first thing we do in Raindrop is called the balancing body energy technique. And this is done by placing 3 drops of valor in the palm of the right hand, rubbing this on the receiver's right foot, and then placing 3 drops of valor in the palm of the left hand, rubbing this on the bottom of the receiver's left foot. Next, you place the right hand on the bottom of the receiver's right foot and the left hand on the bottom of the receiver's left foot. And then you hold that for 5 minutes. And this is an amazing way to help balance the energies of the body. The beautiful thing about this technique is it can be done anytime, any place, basically. It does not have to be included in a Raindrop. I know a lot of families like to do this technique on their children every night before they go to bed.
Yep.
And so as a facilitator, it's important to watch the mechanics of your body and how you're standing as you do the Raindrop. Keep your back straight, your legs bent so that you feel comfortable. If you feel comfortable, the person on the table is going to feel comfortable. And your back will feel better as you're giving the Raindrop.
Yes, of course.
And it's also important as beginners to have the oils all in order and line so that you can keep contact with the person on the table and they're right there ready for you to use.
Wonderful. What are some of the most important things that you've learned that help you carry out the Raindrop technique? Whether it be, like you said, making sure that the oils are in order and close by so they're easy and accessible, making sure that the recipient is comfortable as well. What are some things or a thing that you've learned that has helped you with teaching and providing Raindrop to others?
With teaching Raindrop, for me, it's to go over the process over and over again. You know, when I first learned the Raindrop from your father, the roll and release technique, I thought would be so simple because I am a massage therapist.
Yeah.
And it was difficult for me to learn. And so it's practicing and until you get really comfortable with it. And so practice.
Practice makes perfect.
Exactly.
For someone who really wants to get into Raindrop, what's the best way for them to learn? I personally will say that it's going and watching and being part of one of your classes that you teach. Where can they find out about those classes and where can they sign up for them?
We actually just finished a course at Highland Flats Farm in northern Idaho, and it was a 3-day course for people that were experienced with the Raindrop. We just took it a little bit further in the teaching. It was, great fun. And we are planning more classes for 2022. And the best place to find them is on events.
On the events on the Young Living page.
On the Young Living page.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but we also have a video on our YouTube channel of you talking about the Raindrop, how it works, the steps, correct?
Yes, that's right. And that's another great way to learn. Again, you can practice on your family and friends.
So for most people, when they see Raindrop, I guess it doesn't really strike an interest with that person as far as becoming the person that does Raindrop. For you, what made you want to do it?
Well, Jacob, as you know, in 2005, we all moved together to Ecuador, and I became the director of therapies at the Nova Vida Wellness Spa. And that's where I first learned to do Raindrop, and Gary just taught me one-on-one with the clients that we had come to the spa, and I saw so many amazing things happen with people on the table that I really wanted to learn the Raindrop. Well, after I returned to the U.S., 6 years later, then Gary asked me, he said, hey, I need someone to go out into the field to teach Introduction to Raindrop. He said, what's happening is that we have a fine group of teachers teaching Raindrop, and it's almost becoming like an exclusive club, and people don't think that they can learn. And Gary said, I want every person to be able to do the Raindrop on their family and friends. Mm-hmm. Could you keep it consistent and teach people in the field the simple process of the Raindrop? And I said, I would love to, Gary, and that's how it started.
What is one final story about my dad that you'd like to share?
Oh, there are so many stories. The experiences that we had in Ecuador are amazing, finding new plants. But one that really comes to my mind is the first year we were in Ecuador. The school in Shandong was the old school. Many of you may have seen that. It didn't have any windows.
Made out of cinder blocks.
All of the cinder blocks, all of the grades were in one little building, and they had outhouses. He was so touched by this that for Christmas he decided he wanted to give the children gifts. And so your mother and I wrapped all of these presents that were purchased, and then your dad rented a Santa Claus suit. And his stomach was so big with a Santa Claus suit on that he couldn't fit underneath the steering wheel to drive out to the school. That was about 40 minutes from where we were staying at the time. And so I drove him out to the school and went in with him and called the names and helped him pass out the presents to the little children. It was, it was very touching.
It was. He always wanted to make sure that everyone else was taken care of. And
he did.
I remember hearing that story and my dad asking them, so what'd you get for Christmas last year? And they said, well, we've never had a Christmas before because our parents couldn't afford presents. And so to many of those kids there, that was their very first Christmas ever. And that's just a wonderful memory and an experience to have forever.
It just shows what kind of heart your father had.
Well, Tamara, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your stories, your advice, and your teaching about Raindrop.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
Now we'd like to give you a chance to win some Young Living product, and today we have a very special offer. Find out about the Raindrop technique for yourself with a starter set available to you for free. It includes an instructional DVD to get going in your own home, 2 special carrier massage oils, 2 exclusive Young Living oil blends, and 7 single Young Living essential oils. The only thing you'll need, not included the box, is a positive, mindful attitude. So just head over to the YouTube version of this episode and comment #Raindrop for your chance to win. Good luck. Did you know the Wild Drop has a Patreon? Cindy does. She joined our Tier 3 community, which means we will feature her Young Living testimonial in a podcast episode. Take it away.
Hello, I'm Cindy, and I've been with Young Living since 2017. I am truly blessed and happy to be part of the WILD family as it has changed me and my family's life over the years. WILD was an answer to prayer, the missing link in a pursuit of a healthier lifestyle, and community that helped me through tragedy, trauma, and shedding 100 pounds so far.
Would you like to hear your voice on the Wild Drop? Or receive early access to content? Or behind-the-scenes content? Or a live event? Or live Q&As? And even more? Then check out the Wild Drop Patreon. The link will be in the description of this podcast episode. Thanks to Tamara Packer for her stories, and to you for tuning into this episode of the Wild Drop. Remember, you can listen on iTunes, Spotify, on YouTube, and our newly refurbished website at youngliving.com. Don't forget to oil up, Young Living family. This is Jacob Young, dropping out.
The Wild Drop is produced in our studios at Young Living Global Headquarters with assistance from Paul Eagleston, Cole Wissinger, Ren Soph, and of course our host, Jacob Young.